Good.
Hey, we had some interesting news drop this week. Your buddy, my buddy, Steve Mathis, not really, I'm not buddies with the guy, but he did break this news. And it's interesting if it's true that Yamaha is going to match the right of first refusal on Aaron Plessinger joining the KTM team. What do you think about that, Coach?
I reached out to a couple agents and I was told that it's already a done deal, that he's already at KTM. Now, again, I'm not an agent, I'm not an attorney. I don't know how those timelines work. I don't know how the contracts work. Based on what I can ascertain, I think until that last day of the contract literally expires, I think that option is always there. I guess my question would be, and it sounds like you would be willing to go that route. If we look at the timeline of the way a contract would work, if the company that they're leaving has first right of refusal, matches that, I still think it would be up to the rider. I don't know, maybe you can clarify that a little bit more definitively.
No, the way I understood it, and I'm not a contract expert, so somebody could probably correct me if they had to, but the way I understood it is so I signed the contract and I've signed with Yamaha. They have first right of refusal. I can go out and get a deal, any deal I want, and they have the right to match it and keep me. And I don't have a choice at that point. Once they match it, then I have to stay back with Yamaha. That's their right. Nobody really ever exercises it because you don't still want to be there. This is a strange scenario, though, where we've been joking, like, you got buyer's remorse. Did you sign the wrong contract? Maybe
Yeah.
AP went and said, hey, can you please match this?
Yeah.
You know,
That would be the direction that I would ask as well, because we'd heard some scuttlebutt behind the scenes. I've heard that Cooper Webb wants to go back to Yamaha. I heard that Plessinger wanted to go back to Yamaha. And obviously with them still having the clause, no pun intended, into Plessinger, it sounds like, he may be staying there. I guess that brings up a completely different dynamic of questions. Who goes to KTM now? Because
well, Marv looks pretty good right now because he hasn't, as far as I know, he has not signed the contract that they gave him.
right.
I'm guessing he's going to go ahead and say, yeah, I'm going to need a bigger deal.
Yeah, you can't blame him, right? I mean,
No.
and I hope the listeners understand how much fun this is, but yet how frustrating it is. Like we talked about, look at J Mart. J Mart was supposed to be going into being the next 450 rider next to Roxon, gets hurt running into Cooper. That contract evaporates. Now all of a sudden you have Marv, who 3 months ago he's pretty much taken sloppy seconds, scraps off the table, maybe even getting moved over to Gas. Hey, they're going to give him a 1-year deal. That's all great. Now all of a sudden Plessinger wants to run back to Yamaha. Like you said, changes the negotiation table for Marv. Now all of a sudden you've got Coop and you've got Marv there. It could be very, very interesting dynamic. And not to add more drama to the situation, does Husky now decide to keep Dean Wilson? Because we don't know if Osborne's going to be able to race or not. They were going to let Dean go. Let's say Osborne can't race and Dean goes. Now you've got 2 openings at the 450 level. Does Colt Nichols jump over to a 250? Because he's going to point out this is next year in Supercross. This is his only year that he can race Supercross. Does he go for a cheap amount of money to Husky on a 250 contract going to 450? That'd be 2 years away. But who goes 450 next year for Husky? Assuming, maybe it's not a right assumption, but what if Osborne could not race? Who's the other 450 rider at Husky?
Yeah, and I do want to clarify. We don't know for sure that Plessinger wants to go back to Yamaha. I just assumed he probably would.
Well, I've heard it from 6 different people, both agents as well as people that are in the know, that said he has been wanting to go back halfway through. I say halfway through, we're not even halfway through the summer, but obviously he's very comfortable with the new Star Dynamics. He's obviously comfortable with the new 450. The fact that we're hearing that Cooper wants to go back to Yamaha, that says a lot, as we teased about 2 shows ago when Cooper couldn't win on it. James couldn't win on it. I mean, the list goes, Barsha couldn't win on it. The list goes on and on. And hey, high five, knuckle punch back to Star. They have created the ultimate paradigm shift that we all said they'll either be heroes or zeros. I don't know who's at, and we said this in the last show. I don't know who's at the helm of making this dynamic change. I don't give Bobby Reagan all the credit. He's obviously the director of it, which is cool. But you and I both know there's a lot of guys putting in the sweat equity behind the scenes that's making that program so killer. And boy, what a paradigm shift. I was talking with one of the agents and I said, what a difference a year makes when everybody wanted to get away from Yamaha. And it was, if you could go nowhere else, you went to Yamaha. Now the lion's share wants to go there as the place to be. Hey, you got to give credit where credit's due.
Well, do you remember when we were both on Main Event Moto and I was actually arguing with Daniel about the Suzuki and Yamaha and which one's better? That was
Yeah.
actually a debate we had. Like, kind of, I'm like, no, come on, man. The Yamahas are good. So, but they clearly weren't getting the results. It's just that extra couple percentage. But the thought that I had is Jeremy Martin. So Jeremy Martin doesn't have a ride next year. He hasn't signed yet, is
Right.
what I understand, right?
Right. You're correct.
How great would it work out for KTM if they offered him a 1-year contract, let him get in there and prove it? A little guy on the KTM, that might work, man. Uh,
Well, that was where I was kind of alluding to without directly saying it. To me, Husqvarna offering J-Mart a ride, because you've got two really good guys at Star that are available, J-Mart and Nichols. You've got one that's a defending champion. You've got one that's a previous champion. And again, you've got two guys that their contracts are going to be up.
I would just move J-Mart right into the 450 class. I wouldn't even waste 1 year going after another 250 title. I would just directly put him right in the 450 class in 22 and see what he's got. Because you're going to have 1 year before there's probably going to be some other guy that they're going to bid a lot of money for. But let's find out what we got right here. Maybe we got him because he's not exactly young.
No, I couldn't concur with you any better because he's ridden that 450. He showed us at Daytona. Every chance he's been on the 450, he's looked very, very good. He, whether they're chopping the subframe down like they did for RC or whatever they're doing, the boy can ride a 450.